You gain control of JK Rowling's Twitter account for a day. What unnecessary piece of information do you add to Harry Potter lore?
Buckbeak is an animagus, who is fully intelligent and capable of turning back into a human at any time, but does it because it's his fetish. Harry's favorite finger, for no particular reason, is his left index finger.
All Hogwarts students are required to take a sex ed course. The teacher, Hagrid.
Harry wakes up in Hogwarts, and everyone is gone for Christmas vacation when he has to defend the school from being robbed by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Make the fan theory that the surviving Weasley twin becomes a Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka later in life. The composition of the wand means nothing. A wizard could use a plastic drinking straw and it would work just fine, as long as they expect it to work. Snape was a stamp collector. This is the real reason James Potter bullied him.
It was really him, and not the Weasleys who wrote and mailed the letter inviting him to the Quidditch World Cup. All those stamps on the envelope were his way getting back at James.
Ron grew up to become a Chiron. The sorting hat was 100% unnecessary for class distribution. Its primary purpose was to get rid of head lice.
Completely unnecessary. For a brief time in 1956, teenage wizards used to bewitch vacuum cleaners to use in lieu of broomsticks.
Ron likes to take all his clothes off when he poops.
When you're using the invisible cloak, you're not actually invisible. You're naked. They just choose to ignore you, as to not make things awkward.
That explains why Fudge and Malfoy send Hagrid straight to Azkaban, without a trial in Book 2, when they walk into Hagrid's hut, while Harry and Ron are hiding. All of the really batshit information, Nagini being a cursed Korean lady, the vanishing shirts, the whole cursed child play, all of that was just a Quibbler article. Oh, Xena Lovegood, you endearing fruitcake.
Teenage wizards would jack off in front of the hottest moving paintings.
Hogwarts in the 60s was a drug-fueled, Technicolor dancing orgy every night, and the only reason it doesn't come up more often is because not a lot of people clearly remember.
That must be when Dumbledore made the switch from sharp-looking suits to colorful flowy robes. Harry was born with a third testicle.
Harry put his name in the Goblet of Fire.
And the portion of Voldemort's soul in him allowed him to do so, because it was old enough.
Harry and Ron used some of Hermione's hair, plus Polyjuice potion to kill some time in the dormitories.
That was great, Ron. I promise I'll be Hermione next time. You always say that.
The reason Dumbledore didn't bring back Harry's parents with the Time Turner is because Dumbledore always wanted a son of his own, but then changed his mind a few years later and dumped him at the Dursleys.
Voldemort's penises also have snake-slit noses.
Hagrid tried fun and didn't really care for it. That most people don't play beyond their early 20s because they develop Quidditch ashhole.
Every so often, a player has to retire because his snitch goes somewhere where you don't usually want a vibrating golden orb. And frankly, there's no returning from that ignominy.
There's a witch writer called KJ Rowling, famous for her Muggle book series Harold Rogers, where the protagonist engages in wacky Muggle adventures. Fred and George Weasley switched places during the Battle of Hogwarts. When George died, Fred adopted George's life, complete with cutting off his ear, because he figured George wouldn't want him to spoil the joke. At the time of bringing his kids to platform 9 3/4 at the end of the 7th book, Harry is out on bail for wizard tax evasion due to hiring Percy as his accountant. That the cauldron Voldemort was rebirthed in during Goblet of Fire used to belong to Horace Slughorn. It was gifted to his favorite student, Tom Riddle, the year Riddle left Hogwarts. After Book 2 and the Polyjuice experiments, Ron and Hermione permanently switched places.
Blimey.
I doubled down and declared that some of the older teachers at Hogwarts would forget they were supposed to use toilets now, so occasionally they just drop true and urinate in front of everyone.
Subscribe to Cover Farm.
Underneath the row, Professor McGonagall is actually two twin dwarfs standing on each other's shoulders. They take turns being on top, so the other doesn't get tired. Voldemort doesn't have a butthole after resurrection.
He's like a smooth Ken doll down there.
Harry pronounces the GIF, not GIF.
G is in Jif.
What a decking monster.
Twilight is absolutely in the same universe. The Loch Ness Monster is someone who tried Polyjuice potion with basilisk DNA. Hagrid was a metaphor for the misunderstanding and mistreatment of furries. The My Immortal fanfic is now 100% canon. Thank you, JKR.
Hermione dresses up as a cat girl for Ron, who developed a thing for it before they were dating. In order to have the feast so lovingly described, House Elves of Hogwarts had perfected the art of reusing leftovers multiple times. They secretly go to cheap restaurants and learn from muggles. Recently, they discovered internet, and now, Dean Thomas's mother prints out for them every tip and trick she can find at Frugal Living blogs.
Muggle orphanages know about magic, and when an orphan shows magical prowess, they phone the Ministry of Magic for pickup and leave the baby outside. The Ministry hasn't figured out how voicemail works, and never come to pick up the children.
Well, this explains why the White Walkers keep sparing the orphanages. Moaning Myrtle was masturbating in the bathroom when she dies. Hence, the name Moaning Myrtle. She was reported as crying, based on what an ignorant first-year claimed.
George Weasley was adopted. Not Fred, though. Harry doesn't have a left pinky toe. It was the only part of him hurt by the killing curse when he was a baby. And then, all of us fan theorists will wonder why Lily didn't love his left pinky toe.
I'd clarify that Dumbledore was really gay, just gay for pay. Figure that way, nobody is happy.
The protagonist was actually the flying car, and everything after is just epilogue.
Harry Potter is Cars 3, Ciao Ciao, Expecto Petroleum.
Hermione was actually a collective delusion shared by Harry and Ron.
And Crumb went with it because he's hugely unstable.
I actually always envisioned Dumbledore aggressively asking Harry, maybe even yelling, if he put his name in the Goblet of Fire.
Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Dumbledore asked calmly.
There is a Wizarding World version of Magic, the Gathering, called Muggles the Congregation.
Hagrid's dog Fluffy and Mrs. Norris were lovers.
Voldemort's parents were anti-vax.
The sock that freed Dobby was actually a Potter family heirloom, having been worn by Bobby Charlton in the 1966 FIFA World Cup final. The Potters were very quiet about how they came to acquire it.
Ron is adopted and dyes his hair.
That the Queen of England is a living Horcrux, and that's why she just won't die. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to Karma Farm to get more videos just like this.